Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is our first webinar of 2024. It's very good to be back. I'm Sarah Turner, for anyone I haven't met before. I'm co-founder of Angel Academy. As usual, to talk to us and ask questions, please use chat. Next slide, please. So this is an entirely Angel Academy event. So Yiman and Simon from our team will be running today's webinar. Simon is co-founder with me and our Chief Operating Officer. And in particular, he manages our deal flow. Many of you will have been on a screening or an introductory call with him. Yiman is our partnerships manager. And one of our key partnerships is with Innovate UK. In essence, as partners, we're able to leverage grant funding to sit alongside our investment into qualifying startups. And in this webinar, Yiman and Simon will clarify exactly how that works. No such thing as a free lunch, obviously, and how founders and investors can benefit from the program. So first of all, a little bit about us. Angel Academy exists to close the gender gap in startup investment, both the lack of investment going to female founders, but also the low number of women participating as angel investors. We've been doing this since 2014 and have quite a sizable portfolio now, and we are very much the first kids on the block. Over that time, we've reviewed literally thousands of pitch decks, met thousands of entrepreneurs as well. And we have just recently completed investment in our 49th female-founded tech startup. And we've participated in over 100 funding rounds in total. So there's a lot of expertise in the group now. Do we still need to talk about gender? Something that I revisit over and over? Sadly, yes. So investment into female founders lags well behind female entrepreneurship. Women are now a sizable proportion of the entrepreneurial community, including the high growth, high tech ecosystem as well. But 82% of funding in Europe still goes to all male teams. If you're a woman but have a male co-founder who will usually be the CEO, you have 15% of the funding available to you. But if you're a sole female founder or part of a women-only founding team, you're playing for just 3% of all the investment dollars. And this is all from Atomico's State of European Tech report, published at the end of 2023. And women are equally underrepresented on the buy side. Despite the fact that we own half the net wealth in the UK, only 14% of us are angel investors, and only 7% of us have invested in 10 or more businesses. We invest less and less often also than men. The UK mean or average ticket per angel deal is £33,000 and £135,000 per year, or about 4 investments. But these are the averages. It's not what everyone invests by a long stretch. And recently, the increased thresholds to qualify as an angel investor, introduced by our Treasury, are not only incredibly patronizing, but send a negative signal to potential angel investors, and in particular women. Many financially literate women will no longer qualify. Luckily, there's a workaround for angel networks like ours. The Treasury recognises that being part of an experienced network will reduce the risk compared to industry average. So just a little bit about our impact. Our angels, that include Simon, Yiman and I, have invested in 49 deals, 49 separate female-founded companies, and helped mobilise well over £150 million of co-investment into those businesses. These companies are employing, well over 1,000 people now in high-quality jobs, and female founders go on to recruit more women into their businesses. So they are creating wealth for others. And many of those businesses we backed are scaling very quickly indeed. While our focus is on gender equality, many of our portfolio are also addressing the other UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we're very proud to be on Bohurst's list of most active angel networks, and also to be working with some regular co-investment partners, notably Alumni Ventures in the US and Innovate UK. More about them in a minute. We're really lucky to have some great sponsors supporting us and the founders that we invest in with their professional expertise. So it's one of the ways that we can reduce our risk as investors is by working with these professionals who can provide legal, tax and accountancy, hiring and next stage investment advice. So thank you very much to those sponsors, and we also have some partnerships. I've mentioned Innovate and Alumni Ventures, but WIT, Women in Telecoms and Technology, who are our event partners. But for now, back to today's fun. I'm delighted to introduce Yiman and Simon. They've got some slides to kick off with, which they'll be talking through, but we have plenty of time for your questions. So please put them in chat while we go, as we go along. Thank you very much, and I'll see you right at the end of the session.
Thank you, Sarah. Hello, Yiman.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Good, I think. Yeah.
Good, good. Do you want to bring your deck up now?
Yes, let's do that. Cool.
So I know we've got a whole bunch of detail to get stuck into, and hopefully we'll have some questions probing into some of that detail. But before we get stuck in, why don't you just give us a bit of an overview of where the program is at the moment? What's it intended for?
Okay, sure. So I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of who Innovate UK are and the grants that they've been dispersing to startups in the ecosystem, etc. And the Investor Partnerships program is one of their more recent developments, particularly this specific future economy pod. And what they really want to do with this program is sort of help de-risk technology so that angels and VCs, etc., can invest in startups that they normally would not have the risk appetite to invest in. But yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Okay, well, let's get stuck into some of the detail then. So talk us through the traction to date as you understand it.
Okay, so the program started in April 2022. It was a closed beta, and then they opened up the investor pool to a broader range of investors, and we joined last year. The pot is 80 million, which is not insignificant. And they've basically been dispersing this money across different competitions. They are currently in SME competition round 6, which is currently live. So you and I probably have been speaking to some startups about how to apply, etc. Out of the 80 million grant funding pot, they've already got 38 million-ish that's currently being spent by startups on projects that have been assessed, that have been funded, and 35 million-ish. I always say ish because all of this, you know, sort of like goes up and down as projects get approved or things drop, etc. Is currently in progress. So in progress sort of means that startups have applied with projects and they're still being assessed, etc. Or they actually got the grant, but they are looking to close the funding round that is associated with the grant before starting the project. And they've said that they've got roughly 10 million left in the pot across competition rounds 6, 7, and 8. So that will take us sort of through to June-ish if they decide to approve more companies.
And on that point, have you got any indication at the moment from Innovate UK about whether the program will continue, or is that all TBD at the moment?
Well, they are very bullish on that point, but they're currently going through a spend review at the moment. We think that they will definitely be adding more money to this pot, but yeah. we'll see.
Okay, and can I just ask you just to elucidate what you mean by the aligned investment of 103 million there?
Okay, so like the grant itself is meant to unlock funding for the startups from the private sector. So from us angels and VCs, etc. And so what they are saying is that the money that has been put into startups so far in their projects has unlocked about 103 million in aligned investment. So that's pretty good going, I think.
Okay, that's great. And just, I'm assuming that most people on this call are probably aware of Innovate UK's work, but you've already alluded to this. But to be clear, that any of the funding that they do give out as part of this program, and indeed many in their other competitions, they are equity-free grants. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like equity-free grant funding, but it basically does increase the round size without further dilution, which is really good news for the startups.
Yeah.
And
I'm always very keen when I talk to founders about applying for this or other Innovate UK programs to point out that while it's technically free money, of course, it takes an awful lot of work to get to. So I'm sort of chary of saying to founders that this is free money. And as Sarah said at the head, there's no such thing as a free lunch, but you know, it's great stuff. So, okay, well, what's the success rate been like of applicants so far?
so you might see the closed rounds bit and the SME round. So in the private beta, as it were, the success rates were very high because obviously they were trialing the program out with a very closed pool of investors, and they were being very intentional about who they let in with the project, etc. And but now that they've gone through a few rounds of SME, which we are part of, the success rates kind of have dropped. I think that's probably because some startups apply blind, or they're not really, they don't look at the scope necessarily, and they don't adjust or optimize their application for the scope that they want to apply for. And so it's a really poorly written application, etc. And there will always be some drop off when funding, for instance, it was a really tough year, right, last year. So,
So is it's safe to
yeah.
say then, I mean, I'm going to guess here, but I mean, if we project that out into rounds 5, 6, and 7, it looks like if we project from there, that the success rate of applicants might drop down to 30 or even 25% in the later rounds. Is that fair?
I mean, with the increased competition as the program gets more widely known, and since the pool of investors is so much larger now, then I think that is definitely potentially the case. But we have so far had 100% success rate because we've been intentional about things. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to how we've done at Angel Academy shortly. But yeah, this is really interesting. Walk us through these areas of focus for the program.
Right. So of course they want people to invest into the future economy, and they've identified three main pillars, and then EDI as the lone cousin that supports everything and is part of the program also. So the areas that I've put here are actually the areas in which funding has not been fully allocated yet. So in net zero, that's more capital intensive stuff, critical circular material stuff, which is not fully in our appetite as Angel Academy, but I thought I'd put it out there. Things like power. For us, more relevantly, I think maybe next gen digital tech.
Yeah.
So like creative catalyst startups in our portfolio, like Provenance, fit really well into this theme. So as well as Bridge AI. So like Bridge AI, there are specific areas of industry that they are focused on AI application for, which I think that information can be found on the Innovate UK website. Health and well-being is interesting because our angels do like this category quite a lot. I think in the portfolio, it's like 20% of our portfolio is health and well-being, sorry. So that might be interesting. And of course, EDI, yeah, obviously that's what we're about.
So just to clarify there then, so that you've got three main columns of areas that they're focusing on, and then the EDI is almost orthogonal to that. So I think what we're seeing is that diverse founders will be accepted into the program potentially, even if they're not addressing some of these other key pillars. Have I got that right?
Yes. So like they really think that they don't want to miss out. So like they want to make sure that founders from diverse backgrounds, and they have defined diversity as quite broad. So there may be a definition that you can sit under, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep, that's all clear. That's great. So how's it been going for us?
So far, we've helped startups raise, well, we haven't done it. They've actually done the applications, etc. But we've been shepherding them through this process, and we've helped catalyze about $1 million+ in grant funding across different things. So 3 startups have had successful applications. They're currently going through project setup and or starting their projects. And then Provenance applied in round 5, and we're actually speaking with Innovate UK about the status of the fundraise, etc. Very bullish on that. And then, as always, we've always got something in the pipeline. So
up our sleeves. Good. Okay. That's all good. So just to reiterate there, so far we've had 100% success rate with what we have put in. We got that.
yes.
I know we've already said that, but I'm going to say it again because it's nice to say.
I mean,
okay.
it's a lengthy process, but I think if we can keep it up and get that success rate, then I think it's worth doing.
Yeah. Of course, yes. So yeah, talk us through this then. So
Innovate UK, they fund projects, right? Even in their like other grant competitions, etc. So if a startup were to come to us and say that they were fundraising, etc., they wouldn't just immediately be able to apply for this competition unless there was a way to scope out a specific tech project that can then be applied for in this grant. So something specific with relatively tight parameters, and anyone who has maybe attempted to apply for an Innovate UK grant may know these 3 different research categories: feasibility studies, industrial research, experimental development. And they all have different size projects, different amounts of grants available, the duration of the project, and the ratios. But I think for us, what is really relevant is industrial research projects. So that's sort of like that middle category. From a practical perspective, because the ratio's 1-to-1, but also you could get 70% of the total project cost. But also industrial research is sort of like when a startup is planning to do research on product development, etc., but they're not testing with users yet. And at the stage that we typically invest in, that's quite a lot of our startups.
Yeah, okay, that's great. I mean, I'm always aware that term industrial research, it sounds somewhat outside our realm, but as it happens, I think that how Innovate categorize industrial research definitely applies to the kinds of companies that are often coming our way that might have a specific new aspect of their existing business that they want to develop, but it's a relatively early stage, but is part of the overall business, but is a new development. So yeah, I think that strikes me as absolutely right, that the industrial research category is the closest to the sweet spot that we have when we're looking at companies. But I'm aware there's a whole bunch of questions coming in, and that's great. But I think what we should do is get to the end of your overview, Yiman, and then we'll start answering some of the questions between us. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And I know you've got this. I think you've already touched on this, and I think you're going to probably reiterate it at the end. But I think it is just worth really making clear here that. And I think this goes for pretty much all Innovate UK funding, as I understand it, is that this is not funding for, as it were, core business as usual. This is for a new strand or a new aspect, of an existing business. So that's really important to underline, I think, isn't it?
Yes, I fully agree with that.
Okay.
Something important also is the ratio of grant funding to the investment, which actually doesn't necessarily fully correlate to project size. For instance, if the project is 500K and it's industrial research, only 70% of that is actually the grant money.
Right.
So then the startup has to raise the 300K of investment to unlock that.
Okay, got it. Okay, right. So timelines, talk us through this, because this is the bit that's still doing my head in. But so we're in the middle of round 6 at the moment. Is that right? That's open.
That's open. That closes on the 27th of February at 11 a.m. And then, of course, they will tell you to apply the day before in case there's a tie or something. I think the thing that is a bit different compared to a more typical Innovate UK grant application is the second line, which is an Angel Academy submits an EOI, which is an expression of interest.
Yeah.
Like Simon, you and I haven't quite fully ironed out where in the process that happens, but
I think that's fair. That's fair. But we're getting there, Yiman. Come on, we're getting there.
And basically, we do this EOI and it gets sent to Innovate UK, and it is sort of like a summary of what the grant application might look like, so that the startup doesn't have to invest all of their time before hearing, okay, this might be a project that makes sense to apply for.
And just to be clear there, that is exactly what it says. It is an expression of interest. That isn't an actual commitment from any of our angels to invest at that point.
Yeah, it's sort of like that SEIS thing where if you want to apply for advance assurance, you have to have one interested investor.
Yeah, I've got it. Okay, that's clear. Okay.
Innovate take about 3 days, but sometimes, I mean, I'm sure it depends on how many they're getting at one time, but relatively quickly they come back to us, and then the startup can apply. And then they make a decision about 6 weeks after the fact, and then the startup has 3 months to close the funding round, and then to unlock the grant. It's really important to note that like for instance, we've got a lot of startups coming to us with ASAs, rolling rounds, etc. right now. And any funding that has been raised as part of the round that has hit the bank account doesn't count towards the funding that can unlock this grant.
Got it.
Because they would basically, they didn't need the grant to unlock it. So like, it's not in the spirit of...
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
And then further down the line, 2 more rounds to go. At the moment, all of this info is still like TBC, because Innovate don't always publish things fully ahead of time, but these are the rough timelines. So next round will be in March, will open in March, 6 weeks to application and decision, and then the 3-month timeline to close the funding round.
Okay, so it looks then that for the final round, as it currently stands, there's going to that will give us until the early autumn to complete any funding round, won't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Obviously apply sooner rather than...
Yeah, don't hang around. Okay.
Oh God, that is my first key takeaway. Yes, apply early.
Yes.
And I did mention already, money in the bank doesn't count. So
actually, I think, have you got a slide for your key takeaways? Do you want to bring that up?
Yes.
Yes.
There you go.
So good, you've said that already. So yes, get those applications in.
Yep. Get those applications in. The grant applies to specific projects. All the info is on the Innovate UK website, but obviously I'm around and Michelle will send emails out about my email address and stuff. It's a competition. Not every project will be approved. We have a good success rate, and obviously I hope to keep it at that level, but you never know. And multiple investor partners can invest in a deal. So multiple VCs, multiple angel networks, etc. And yeah, I just think the whole point is to start talking to us as early as possible. Like if a startup comes to us at the 10th hour, then sometimes it's really hard to help.
Yeah, I would stress that from what I've seen. I mean, just so everyone's clear, Yuman's put a huge amount of work into getting her head around what is quite a complicated process, and one that doesn't necessarily automatically align with our process. And I'm sure that's the case for all the other investors. So we're trying to munge together different processes here. Yeah, it's taken us quite a while to get our head around how we're going to do it. And what I would suggest to any founders on the line or anyone who hears us afterwards is, if you're thinking about this but haven't yet put in an application through our normal routes, I would get an application in anyway and just get in touch with me or Yiman, either directly or via Michelle, and we can just get a conversation in as soon as possible to see if we can make it align. Is that fair, Yiman?
Yep, that sounds good.
Well, look, we've got some questions coming in, and I think some of these I may. Do you want to take your slides down now, and we'll
Sure.
let's chat through some of these questions. So, Rowena asked a question about one-on-one matching, but I think Sarah's actually already got back on that. So, Rowena, if you're happy with that answer, let us know. If not, just holler in chat. So Laura has asked, is the funding tech only, given that they want businesses that could help grow the economy? That's an actually very good question.
Yeah,
I'll put that one to you, because
I mean, for this grant, yes, tech, because like tech is one of the biggest risks of early stage investment, and that's what they really want to de-risk for investors. So yeah, tech.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, certainly my experience with Innovate UK over the years is, I mean, you know, the clue's in the name. It is very, very focused on innovation in technology. But it's fair to say that generally across the board, that Innovate do actually fund technology, and you know, it's a very should we say Catholic definition of what technology is. So okay, right. Saskia has asked, is there a specific reason that AA aren't interested in circular materials projects? I'm running one, which is a tech platform, so I'm wondering if it's worth reaching out to you. The answer is yes. Well, no, the answer to the first bit is no, there's not a specific reason we're not interested in circular materials projects, because we are. And the answer to the second bit of the question, Saskia, which is about reaching out, is yes, please do. If you want to get in touch with me before applying, just drop me an email. We'll put all the details at the end, but I'm Simon, Angel Academy. So very happy to have a chat about that. We're very interested in circular materials, the circular economy generally. I've said that Innovate UK is pretty Catholic in how it defines technology. We are equally, if not even more Catholic in our definition. So yeah, hopefully that's answered that and cleared it up.
Yeah, sorry, Saskia, for the confusion. I think maybe sometimes it can be expensive, and then I was thinking about angel appetite, but if it's early, etc., there may be potential. So definitely send Simon an email.
So Marie-Louise has actually raised her hand. So I'm assuming has a question. Are you happy to put the question in chat, or do you want us to promote you to a panelist? Because Sarah has the power to do that, I believe. Ah, there you go. Sarah's done it.
Ooh, hi, Marie.
Marie-Louise, are you there?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
You're breaking up quite. It's quite Dalek-y, I have to say, but.
Oh dear. For some reason, I'm actually watching this from my browser, and for some reason, I can't watch it by the app, and I'm not able to chat. I don't know why, but I can't type. My screen keeps flipping, so I'm unable to chat.
Well, maybe if you tell us what the question is, we will try to get the question. I don't know.
Yes, thank you so much. So I've set up a social impact group where we are 100% organically farming courses. And there is a tech element to what we are doing. It's tech enabled. I wanted to find out if the grant is mainly for deep tech startups or if a startup like mine, which is tech enabled, can apply.
Yeah, I think I got that, Yiman. So I think Marie-Louise is asking, it's back to the question about, is it only tech being funded? Is it purely deep tech, whatever that means, or can it be, if you like, more softly tech-enabled businesses? What's your understanding there?
Well, as far as I know, Innovate UK take a portfolio approach to the projects that they fund, and sometimes tech-enabled projects just don't stand out as much as the deep tech applications in terms of what can be funded, etc. So it's sort of a maybe, but I'm not Innovate UK.
No, I'd certainly
Thank you. I'll put through my application, and if it's okay to send you an email and you an email, please.
Yeah, get in touch.
please do.
Thank you.
No problem.
I mean, just to say that from Angel Academy's point of view, we are very clear when we say that we fund female-founded tech startups. We do include and very clearly include what we would call tech-enabled startups in there. We are not funding purely deep tech, whatever the hell that is anyway. But so a great question, Marie-Louise. I'm sorry you couldn't get on chat, but right. Helen Jones. Hello, Helen. Helen has asked, do the grants have a specified definition of the work to be done? And does the partner investment have to be committed to the same work project?
Well, the second question, the answer is no. So the investment will be the funding round, which can be for anything like scale, growth, etc. But the grant has to be for a specific tech build. And then in terms of the definition of the work to be done, the scope has to match the research category. But
Right.
yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, Helen.
I don't know. We'll see if Helen pings us a clarification back. But right, we actually had a question from Sarah earlier on, which is good, and I don't know if we've answered this, but yeah, she's asked which pots still have money. So are any of them actually all out? I mean, did they allocate pots to specific areas?
So the areas that I put in the presentation are all areas that still have money.
Oh, they are, right. Okay,
Yes.
so there's no particular. So okay, so there are those three main columns plus the orthogonal EDI. There's still money left in there, although as we know, not necessarily very much. Okay, all right, great.
Then the EOI is actually very helpful in this regard because they then make a relatively quick judgment call about whether there is money they can unlock, etc. So yeah, if that helps.
Okay, fine. Great. Right, a question from Shifra. Hello, Shifra. Haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're well. She asked, do you know how the grant is awarded? She's heard of instances where you have to spend the grant money first before you claim it back. Is that right?
I think so. I think that it gets dispersed quarterly at the end of the spending quarter. So yeah, you do have to spend the money first.
Okay, so it's retrospectively awarded.
Yes, I think so. And then but because it is part of like a funding round, they generally expect that you have money in the bank to fund it initially.
Right. But of course, yes, Sarah's helped clarified on that as well. So although the Innovate money will come in retrospect, the funding from investors like us, that will come ahead of the project. So there will be money in the bank to get the project going. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Okay. Hopefully, Shifra, that has answered your question. but do pop a note in chat if you're, if not. Now,
Okay.
oh, Shifra said thanks, so presumably that answered it. Fine. Now, there was another question I was supposed to, I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through lots of questions here. But someone asked earlier about how the decision's made about what gets the funding. So you touched on how quickly it's turned around, but yeah, what goes on in the background so to make that happen?
So in the background, Innovate UK use a pool of assessors to assess grant competitions. Basically, after the end of after the deadline, the assessments, the assessors, 5 assessors get allocated to each project application, and they make an assessment on whether this makes sense or not, etc. And the assessor guidelines are actually also posted on the Innovate UK website. Slightly hidden, but they are there, and they help you with shaping your application basically. And yeah.
And to be clear, those assessors, they're not employed by Innovate, they are independent and they make their assessments independently. So the overall
Score, yeah.
score is an amalgam of what comes in independently. Right, okay, fine. So I think, right, so yes, Sarah's clarified. So hello, Nikki. I think you asked the question about, your question is, how's the investment decision made from AA and how much of the ticket can AA fill on its own? Do you need another investor? Blah, blah. Okay, right. Gosh, there's a lot to get into. I suppose I should answer this, shouldn't I? This is my gig. So I'll give you a very, very quick headline on how our process normally works. And as we've already alluded to, we're trying to figure out how we can elide that with the Innovate process. But as it stands, we ask any founder that wants to apply to Angel Academy to apply online. We do that whether there's a warm intro or not, because we're really, really keen to strip out any kind of network effects or network bias. So everyone applies online. And just to put some figures on that, we get something like 400 to 500 applications a year. And that's entirely separate to this Innovate stuff we're talking about today. So of the companies that apply to us, we put forward 1 in 4, 1 in 5 thereabouts. So last year, that was 140 in total, went through to one of our weekly screening calls in which founders get to pitch to some of our most experienced investors, many of whom are on the line today. We've got quite a few of our screeners on the line. And over a given period, we take the feedback from those calls, both from an informal discussion and from written feedback that I get. And we use that feedback to help us make a decision on who to put through to pitch to the full group. And just to put some final figures on that, you know, in a given year, we may have anywhere between 8 to maybe 12 pitch slots. We might hear from up to 15 companies pitch to us. So that's how we make the decision. It's very much a collaborative decision that's done, as I say, with some of our most experienced angels. So hopefully that answers that bit of the question. And then you also asked about whether we co-invest, and the answer is absolutely. I was going to say it's vanishingly rare. I don't, in fact, it may not have even ever happened that we're the only investor. So we're sometimes with a lead investor amongst a whole bunch of different investor groups, often not, but we'll invest alongside other individual angels, angel groups, early stage VCs, funds, family offices, and so on. So yes, we definitely always co-invest, and I think we'd be expecting to do the same when we're working with Innovate on this partnership program. So and the last bit of Nikki's question, there's a lot in there. We run several UK net zero grants on our own, but had to use our own resources to match find the matched funding. It sounds like we should probably take this offline and have a chat, Nikki, but hopefully I've answered your headline questions there. Do let me know if we have. Okay. And Shifra's come back and said, thank you. It's been really instructive. That's good. Well done. Job done, you man. And she's going to follow up with you. You're going to have a lot of people following up with you after this, you know. That's So let me just scroll down, see if there's any outstanding questions. Oh, good. Nikki's happy with our answer there. That's good to know. I think we have answered most of the questions that have come in. Of course, I'm going to say that. Sarah's asking, what are we investing in? I don't know what she means by that question. That's
Yeah.
I don't know. Sarah, do you want to elucidate what you mean? Oh, what are we investing in that might be different from Innovate? Oh, well, yes. So I see the question. Right. Thank you, Sarah. So Yiman gave the sort of three chief columns that the Innovate are looking at the moment. If you look on our website, you'll see that our investment thesis, to use that rather pretentious term, is a bit more widespread. And so we've got several main areas that we look at. We're particularly interested in you can look on the website and go through more detail, but we're strongly interested in fintech, educational technology, green tech more broadly, health tech we're particularly strong on, as Yiman's already said, and we're looking increasingly, it looks like we're looking at quite a lot of agricultural tech that's coming our way at the moment. So yeah, there's definitely stuff that we're interested in that might fall outside the scope of the Innovate program. And certainly, if there are founders on the line that think, oh my God, we don't fit any of this Innovate stuff, still come to us, please, still apply. Hopefully that's clarified Sarah's question. Oh, and Nikki's come back. Follow-up question. For our previous RUK projects, we had to prepare a detailed project plan to outline exactly what we want to achieve, costs, etc. How detailed do you need to be for our initial discussion? So I guess that's around the expression of interest stage. What's your understanding there, Yiman?
Yes, I assume this is for the EOI. I think well, you don't have to do like a Gantt chart and the risk register and all of that stuff yet. I think roughly you will have to figure out, maybe you already have a product roadmap and like you kind of want to accelerate a portion of that product roadmap, and this would be a really great way to do that. So you might already actually have a rough understanding of how much that might cost you in terms of R&D, and that is something that we can then discuss. You could be like, oh, I think we need 200K to do this specific thing, and or to test this specific thing, or to like, etc. And I think that might be a good enough level that we can sort of be like, okay, this might be more experimental development, or this might be more industrial research, etc. Okay. Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual full application beyond the EOI stage, it is pretty much as detailed as most, as other Innovate programs. Is that, and competitions? Yeah. Yeah.
If you've ever done a smart grant or something, it's exactly the same.
Okay, great. So the same broad questions that will come up. That's really good. And then I've got one last question from Saskia, and then we'll wrap. She asks a question about the EOI. To ask for an EOI from us, AA, do we reach out to one of you or apply online? So I would say I'm going to apply online anyway, because that and our application process is much more straightforward than Innovate's process. So get an application in anyway, but also at the same time, just drop us a line to know that you're interested in this program, and myself or Yiman will pick that up. But yeah, please get an application in.
Yeah.
So I think with that, we better wrap. Sarah, do you want to rejoin us on the stage?
Will do. Do you want to just bring my final slide?
I'll bring your final slides up.
So thank you everyone for your questions. If you're a female founder currently about to raise investment, please do apply to us via our website. So whether you've had an informal chat with Yiman or Simon or not, you do need to submit an application. This is an essential part of the process. Basically, we use the application to assess interest from our angel network in investing in you. So we can't take your Innovate or your investment application forward unless we have that with you. And it is the quickest way onto our radar. So please do submit it. If you'd like to join as an angel investor at one of our monthly pitch events, I know there's some investors on the line as well, please reach out to Michelle and she will onboard you. And then there are other ways of staying in touch with us. We've got a monthly newsletter we publish on Substack. Michelle is sharing the links for all of these, I think, as I talk. We're active on LinkedIn, so please do follow us there. And we have done many webinars over the years on various subjects, and you can find these on our YouTube channel. So I think that's it for this evening. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you again for your questions. Thank you in particular for Yiman and Simon for demystifying what is quite a complex process, and look forward to seeing your applications. Thank you very much.